Good evening everyone, and this has taken a little while to finish. The What-Ifians are looking forwards to 2035, and this is one of the key aircraft that they are planning to have in the triad of strategic bombers, along with the B-58 MX Hustler, and yes, those are conformal fuel tanks, and the B-49 Flying Wing, the B-49M. Now, I love the Vulcan, I always have done. I've built 5 of them, this is the 5th. There may be more planned, can't say too much about that. But this is the biggest conversion I have done. And this is the new Airfix kit, which is an absolutely superb model. I say new, it's been around for a few years, but really it makes the old tool from 1983 totally obsolete, in the same way that the Airfix Buccaneer makes their old Buccaneer obsolete. Now, the idea of this Vulcan, and I've got 2 B3Ms which are in the gunship grey, and they're just really a standard modernisation and upgrade of the standard Vulcan to make it more contemporary with new engines and better avionics, all the stuff that the RAF could have done, probably should have done and didn't do. Now, there is a couple of tiny bits of detailing I just need to finish on this model, and then it is all done, but I wanted to present it to you because it is 99.9.3% recurring done. Now, you'll notice it does have a shiny sheen to it, and that's to replicate the paint that the B2s and the F22s and the F35s are sprayed in, which I call Dulux Stealth Grey. Now, the Vulcan is from one of my earliest memories, going to air shows in the early 90s and late 80s. I wasn't old enough to see the Vulcan in active service before it was retired, but I did see them at air shows and absolutely loved the fact that at Mildenhall they set off all the car alarms, literally all the car alarms. Now, the Vulcan has always been a very special aircraft, and I was a bit like, do I cut one up? Do I make a modernised one? But times change. And if the Vulcan, like the B-52, is going to remain in what-if service, it needs some upgrades. Now, it's not going to be a low observable stealth plane in the way that the B-2 is. You can't build a stealth plane just by modifying one. Sure, you can reduce the radar cross-section, but it will never be like a B-2 Spirit, because everything from those stealth aircraft like the Tacit Blue, like the B-2 Spirit, like the F117, it has to be designed from the ground up. You can, like I said, reduce the radar cross-section, and that's what I've intended to do here. I've also modernised it heavily in the form of sensors and avionics and in capability. Now, the whole point of this Vulcan is to carry the Big Mama hypersonic missile. Now, people have said, well, how's that hypersonic? Well, basically the Big Mama is a big rocket booster. So at high altitude, it's launched, rocket boosts, takes it up through the atmosphere into space. The front end is your hypersonic glide vehicle with your multiple re-entry vehicles. That takes up position, boom, down goes the re-entry vehicles and the decoys, and there you have your Oreshnik style effect on the target. Now, the Vulcan is crucial to my strategic bombing triad, and currently that is the B-49, the Vigilante. It will be the MX Hustler again, and the Vigilantes will be doing anti-ship stuff. But the Vulcan has something which none of these other aircraft have, and that is it has a big bomb bay. And we can see here on the Airfix model that beautiful bomb bay. And I've been inside the Vulcan bomb bay, and it is absolutely huge. I've been inside a Vulcan, a couple of Vulcans actually in museums, and they're beautiful. So what have I done here? Well, I've basically added some faired-in stealth triangled intake, some engine fairings. I have done it with the ladder down. I've taken off some of the lumps, bumps, pitot probes, and I've faired in the wing there, and I've made over wing inlets for the engines. Now, the engines will be the GE F515, which is one better than the
414, which is a WHIF engine. And the whole idea of this is it's reducing the radar cross-section. I could have done it with the flush nose, which I probably should have done without the refueling probe, but I do like the Vulcan refueling probe. It kind of looks mean. It looks like it's pointing at things. Sprayed the canopy gold. This is the radar absorbent material WHIF. Now you'll notice, of course, the tail, very similar to the B-58 MX Hustler, and that is F-35 wings from an Italeri kit. Then there's more chaff and flare dispensers on the top, and there's all these sensors around. Now these are the radars, so these are low probability of intercept radars, and they're low probability of intercept radars because you don't want to light up your radar if it's a standard or even an ACER radar and give away where you are with all of your coatings and all of your low radar cross-section features, because that will tell your enemy where you are. So the idea of this, and you'll see these sensors here, which are done by decals. I managed to get some light grey decals from Fantasy Model Print Shop. And the idea is that this Vulcan is a standoff platform, and it can be used for soaking up all of the signals that the enemy are projecting. It can be used with the low probability of intercept radars, which are located here and here in the front of the wings. Yes, it does have a terrain following one under there, but it mainly uses passive sensors, and it mainly uses this low probability of intercept radar. This is a WHIF. So if you don't like WHIF, well, then just don't listen. But the idea is that it means that you're not broadcasting where your aircraft is. Underneath, we have yet more sensors, and we have more jamming equipment. Here's the original chaff flare dispensers, which are upgraded, and some on that side. Directed infrared countermeasures, those silver things will be, and you notice no wing pylons. The idea of not having the wing pylons is that everything is stealthily concealed inside the bomb bay. Now, one of the downsides of this approach, and with these wing mounted inlets, is airflow, and that's not a problem that is only applicable to this aircraft. The B2A Spirit has the same issue. So what you have here on the top is these inlet doors here, auxiliary inlet doors. So when it's taking off, when it goes below a certain Mach number, 0.4 Mach, let's say, these open up and they get extra airflow into your engines. And the engines come out through this stealth triangled exhaust system here, which blends the cold air with the hot air. Now, it won't completely remove the infrared signature, but it will reduce it. So everything is built in on this aircraft to try and reduce its IR signature and reduce its radar cross-section. Is it as low observable as a B2A Spirit? No. Is it as low observable as a B-21 Raider? No. But it's so different from the Vulcan that I've decided to call it the B-42 RAYDER. I've no idea where I got that name from. And this is Verity, V for Verity, from the Vaders. So there is Lord Vader himself. And I've done the undercarriage in white to give it a modern and fresh look. Stuck the ECM from the tail fairing underneath, and basically done my best to kind of modernise it. And it is so different to the Vulcan B3 that I felt a new name was required for it. And what I plan to do is use magnets on the top of these big bombs and put them inside the Raider's bomb bay, and then I can have them taken out. Now, the crew for this aircraft is down to 2. With digitalisation, with modern technology, it doesn't need the 3 in the back. So it's just a 2 crew with a rest area. Underneath, we have all the targeting system built in, both in the old bomb aimer's window and in this little bit there at the front. That is your electro-optical and IR sensor. So everything that you need to do your mission is all built in, so it doesn't have to have the sniper pod hanging off it like on the B3M. The main weapons that this will be carrying is the hypersonic Big Mama, and the Malagasy what-ifs plan to field 18 of these operationally. They're going to be using the 30 available airframes, of which 24 are B-3Ms, and they're going to have 18 of these operational by 2035. Its other main weapons is the £12,000 tall boy glide bomb with a GPS kit, the £22,000 Grand Slam glide bomb. It doesn't glide that far, but it does glide enough to stay out of the enemy air defences. And if you really need to destroy something, the £15,000 demolition bomb, but you have to get close for that. So that's a rare weapon. And that's what makes the Vulcan and the Raider separate to all of the other aircraft I've got in my strategic bomber fleet and will have. So if we look here at the Hustler, yes, that can carry £18,000 of JDAMs, but that is going to be one which is going to be used in the low-level penetration role and the attacking role. The B-49M, it has bomb bays here, but they're nowhere on the size of the Vulcan, and it can't carry the same payload as the Vulcan Raider. Now, these are the weapons which the Vulcan Raider can carry: £2,000 GBU-15, £3,000 laser-guided demolition bomb, all the plethora of JASSMs. That's a KEP 350D, the Baby Mama hypersonic missile that just has one re-entry vehicle, £2,000 bunker buster JDAMs, a collection of GBU-15s of various types, a GBU-8 with extended range glide wings, rocket assisted GBU-15. We've got the GBU-24 bunker buster, GBU-28 when you need to bust a really big bunker, the AGM-109 what-if Tomahawk long-range cruise missile, and then for smaller targets, the £500 electro-optical GPS guided glide bombs. Of course, the JASSM is a firm favourite. Now, all of these aircraft can carry the JASSM. The Raider can carry 8 internally. The B-3Ms can carry 10 because they use the pods under the wing. Now, this is really what gives the what-if Malagasys their strike capability of their bomber command. So we have a plan for 2035, 18 Raiders, 18 MX Hustlers, 18 B-49Ms, and that will give the what-ifians a very big and very useful strike capability. Now, this is the in-depth strike capability. So this is when your tactical aircraft just won't do. This is the conventional deterrence for the what-ifians. This is what keeps them safe without having nuclear weapons. And that's why upgrading the capability to them is so important. So instead of just making another B-3MM, they have gone for a different and much more radical upgrade. I hope you like it. I hope this is to someone's pleasing. I do this for the love. I'm not monetized. And just to say, with the paint, this is Valio medium gunship grey mixed with Valio aluminium mixed with some black. I've tried to do the intakes with this radar absorbent material, and to give it that shiny colour, like the F-22 Raptors, if you see them. And I'm pretty happy now I'm getting the mix right and making them look like the radar absorbent material. This ram here is just USN light ghost grey, as is the bits on the tail. The Vader decals are just home printed. They're not the best, but I print like the home decals, like the Spirit, and then I use some like the white Angry Wolf Dogs, which I've nicked from the spares bin. So you can see that on these aircraft as well with the B-49M, that's a low probability of intercept radar. And I'm trying to take things as far as I can within the limits of sort of reality, sort of not. But the only country in the world that can really have a huge bomber force of the highest level China will get there eventually, I believe, is America. And of course, they're pushing the B-21 Raider quite hard. So if you don't have that unlimited budget like the Americans, and you're not prepared to go to 50 trillion in national debt, reusing one of these older airframes appears to be, to me, a really good compromise. So you take the older airframe, you add the modern upgrades, you add the modern sensors, you add the modern equipment, you refresh the old bits which are failing, you make sure all the materials are checked and everything's checked for fatigue. You paint it in a beautiful low radar cross-section paint. You get rid of things like the pitot system and put in an advanced pitot system there like the F-22 and the B-2A Spirit has. Here you go for conformal tanks rather than the big pod underneath. You've got radar reduction in the way that the tails are done, or you just go for the old flying wings and you take the IR signature right down. And that is how the Malagasy what-ifs plan to deliver a strategic bomber fleet of around 60-ish aircraft when you feature in the training aircraft, the OCU aircraft, 18 of each type operational. And that is the plan for the triad of strategic bombers for 2035. Take care. Goodbye.